Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to my brand new series for 2023 and beyond, probably, called Gran Turismo Rewind, where we essentially turn back the clocks game by game on this series, which I've got a very kind of personal connection with, to the point where we end up all the way back in 1997 with the original Gran Turismo back on the PlayStation 1. So obviously with Gran Turismo 7 being widely covered last year on the channel, it still will be featured, by the way. I don't think it's just going to disappear. This will probably just be like sort of an episode a week sort of thing, hence why it's going to take so long. Obviously the most recent game in the series was Gran Turismo Sport, hated by some, loved by others. In my opinion, it was a bit of a weird time for me. This was kind of really when I wasn't gaming as much on release. I kind of, did everything that was in the game back then, and we only had sport mode and stuff. And then by the time single player content got added and that, I just really wasn't gaming that much at all really in my life. Then I kind of, came back periodically, I believe in 2019, came back for around about a few days in 2020, and then just before Gran Turismo 7's release, I jumped back into GT Sport to kind of get a feel for the series. So let's get into it. So first up, we're going to explore just really the menu and what's in this game. So as you can see, you've got the campaign section. I'm not going to focus on sport mode for this episode. I'll do a separate episode on that. Now, as you see, we've got the driving school, which is essentially kind of your license tests. They're very, very easy. That's one thing I noticed, that there was, the challenges were really easy to just jump in and kind of get gold. They weren't really a massive struggle. I believe within a couple of days, and that's kind of just a few hours a day, I was pretty much done with these in no time. And as you can see, you get some very nice rewards for doing so. So overall, they were pretty simple. You had the mission challenges as well, which were, kind of the same thing what we have in GT7, except, some were just quite short, some were a little bit longer and that. Then you also had the circuit experience. Now, I really like the way these are laid out, but one thing I did notice when I was kind of looking through, it just feels like there's not that many tracks within GT Sport. I don't know if it's just me or kind of the way it's laid out. It just doesn't seem that many, and this is with kind of all the updates put into the game. Now, if you paid a little bit extra, you could get the Lewis Hamilton time trial challenge. And whilst I did purchase this, it was kind of just a single run at each one. I never really went back, so I may do that at some point. I really should, but as you can see, you essentially just take on some Lewis Hamilton time trial targets to get gold. There is some really bad voice acting in that. Now, one thing that's not in GT7 is the mileage shop. So this is a little bit separate from kind of your brand central and stuff. You essentially rack up your mileage points, and you can go ahead and just sort of buy, wheels, some special cars, which was the likes of the safety cars and kind of the Group 3 road versions. There was plenty of them. It's a pretty cool feature. Again, that didn't return in GT7. Then we have the brand central. Now, every single car is in here that's within GT Sport, so there's no separate dealers. I know that those of you that might not have jumped in or ever played GT Sport won't really know what's going on here, but yeah, so even kind of the old retro and classic cars, legend cars and stuff that you may see in GT7, yeah, they're not well, they're in here, they're not in their own separate thing, which took some getting used to. It was really strange kind of looking for cars when I went back, and then realizing, yeah, they're kind of all in one place, so kind of mixed together. You have the single player as well. Now, this was kind of added post launch, and there's actually a ton to do here. As you can see, we're not playing this game as much as the other GTs in the series. I actually didn't do that much in terms of going through playing this, so yeah, I'm going to be experiencing a lot of this really for the first time, so yeah, it's going to be quite an enjoyable experience for me. So we're going to start off really in terms of playing through this game with, well, where any GT game starts, with the Sunday Cup. As you can see, we've got 9 races coming up, so we're going to take a Honda Integra to go and do these. Now, I'm not going to show you all, kind of all the footage from all 9 races. I'll kind of cut them and chop them, and we'll kind of go from there. So we're going to start off with a Honda Integra Type R that I had sat in the garage. I didn't want to go for something ridiculously overpowered, because it would have just kind of took away from the experience. I kind of want to play through this game with you guys and kind of make it as difficult as possible. I couldn't find a way to turn up the difficulty on this game. I genuinely cannot remember for the life of me if there is a way, so I'm kind of just, you know, penalising myself. So we've got no upgrades on this car. Upgrades much different in this game. There was no kind of auto shop from what I can see anyway and what I can remember. So yeah, you kind of do it within the car setting menu. So this is just bog standard, nothing done to it, and as you can see, we're going to pretty much, you know, have a bit of a cakewalk with this one, flying past all the AI. Now it does seem that there's kind of a mid bump in difficulty. That's because some of the AI it gives you will be much quicker if you're kind of using a more, you know, I guess slower, more normal car, that kind of mainly being an Alfa Romeo 4C and a Ford Focus ST. Mainly the Alfa Romeo is going to be a, you know, a thorn in my side, which you'll see later on. I did have some great battles, and then it kind of just disappears towards the, you know, the last few events and doesn't return, which is a bit of a shame because it really did make some of the racing genuinely really enjoyable. Now, to be honest, this was a rather straightforward event to begin with. Like most GT games, I believe GT7 started here as well and then just never went back. So this is Northern Isle Speedway, and as you can see, we've got the race wing. One thing I like is that it actually tracks how many times you've won an event. So race 2 was Suzuka East Circuit, and as you're going to see, this is again going to be another pretty straightforward one, in all honesty. No real challenge here. We're still in the same bog standard Integra Type R. We haven't took any weight off of it, we've not upped any power in it. Straight out the box, nice and fresh. And in all honesty, I was really enjoying driving this car. I absolutely love the Integra. So let's talk about the game in general and how it really plays. It does feel different from GT7. In all honesty, it does feel like a bit of a downgrade. So you can really, you know, make an, I guess, notice of how, you know, Polyphony kind of up the driving within GT7. The cars feel much more responsive. They feel just much better in general. Like there's more contact with the kind of road surface. I don't know if it was just me, but I felt GT Sport was a bit more kind of floaty, whilst also at the same time being a bit more stiff. So I am actually doing this on controller. I didn't have my wheel set up for this, but I genuinely feel like you could probably, I guess, a wheel would be more kind of, I guess, needed with this game, which might sound really strange. I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that you have to have a wheel, but I can see how you could be much quicker on a wheel within this game than you would on kind of controller, whereas with GT7 I find a comfortable balance between both. You know, I can be fast on controller and I can be quick on a wheel. I feel like the wheel in GT7 gives you more accuracy, whereas I feel like it would just genuinely give you more speed within GT Sport. So yeah, it was really kind of weird getting used to it, to be honest. So you're probably going to see my driving being just a little bit off while playing through here. But yeah, now one thing to note how this actually works. You do have driver levels in this game, and I feel like the driver level is much more difficult to get in this game, in all honesty. I believe at the time of making this I'm around about driver level 32. You do have challenges that kind of track along with kind of like your driving time and all that kind of stuff, and they'll kind of give you a bit of a boost, but all in all it feels much more kind of, I guess, lengthy in terms of, you know, leveling yourself up. You know, you go through like emerald divisions, I believe you get little divisions for it, whereas I think, if I'm correct, the entirety of GT7's level is mainly based on, well, collecting cars, where with Sport it's more about the XP you earn through racing. If you kind of use a slower car against faster cars, you'll get a bonus, so you get a kind of car handicap bonus, you get your clean race bonus as well, that goes into your XP. You also get that goes into your money as well, so the credits you earn, you can get a handicap bonus. So if you use a weaker car, you get a bit of a bonus. I believe it's like 40 something %, and you get the clean race bonus as well. So that is something that did return in GT7. But I feel like, again, if we kind of got that bonus bought back for using a weaker car at some of the events within GT7, it just kind of give us more incentive to use, I guess, more difficult cars, but also reap the rewards from doing so. You know, getting an extra bonus on top would be absolutely amazing, especially if you're running the likes of, say, Le Mans 700 with a 600 pp car, or, you know, the likes of Sardinia 800 with a 700 pp car. I just feel like, you know, kind of handicapping yourself and getting a bit of a bonus for it will give people, a bit of a fresher grind, because people are then going to think, you know what, I'm going to see how low I can get this and handicap myself and kind of reap that reward. So I really do like that kind of feature from GT Sport. All in all, I feel like this is a very solid game. Whilst, like I said, when I kind of bought it, I got it on release, got the collector's edition and all that stuff, kind of played it for, I probably want to say about 3 weeks to a month, but at the time, once you kind of done all what was the original single player content, which was the kind of mission challenges, licenses, which, like I said, didn't take very long at all. I mean, literally a couple of days, really, at most, and that's kind of pacing yourself. You only had, sport mode, and at the time we did have actual daily races, so, the kind of races sort of came in, disappeared after a day, and then they did change that up, I think, early in the game's life cycle, if I remember, and it became kind of a weekly thing, but they've never then gone and changed the title, which just seems really bizarre. But yeah, played the game for about 3 weeks to a month, maybe a little bit more, and then I believe in kind of the end of the year, on launch year, that's when the single player got put in, and I believe that was kind of built upon, within the updates. I think when it originally came out there was less content than there was at the end, if I'm right with that one. I think I may be, but yeah, there was kind of a coming back at the end of its, I guess, life, with GT7 kind of taking over from it. I feel like if you haven't played GT Sport now, you can get a very solid experience, whether that be multiplayer, maybe not so much these days, that's why I've not really covered it in this video. Don't get me wrong, Sport was mainly focused around, well, sport mode, but I believe that's now gone to a monthly cycle, so you'll be running the same 3 events for a whole month before they changed out. I know that was kind of the plan kind of early in GT7's release cycle, that it went to monthly in GT Sport. Now I'm pretty sure they still update it, so I'm sure it's still on that monthly cycle, but in terms of single player content and using different cars and stuff, I genuinely feel like you're going to get a complete package for how much you'd really pay for this game these days. In all honesty, I think it's a very, very good experience. There's a lot to do. I wouldn't say it's the biggest GT game, that's not really the focus, was a single player, but if you did want maybe a bit of a single player experience, then, well, you can't really go wrong. So as you probably saw in the background there, I absolutely got beat by the Alfa Romeo, so I put a few upgrades on the Honda and decided to do a bit of a I guess livery change, make it more racy, lower it down a bit. So yeah, we didn't do too many upgrades. I was still hoping that I could compete without having to absolutely put everything on the car. You do use your mileage points to upgrade cars in this game, not actual in-game money. I believe the money's just for purchasing cars. So I did take out the upgraded Integra Type R, and let's see how we do. So I'll leave the background footage playing. You can kind of see that whilst I kind of discuss it. I kind of want to make the first episode more of a discussion about the game in general. So yeah, like I said, in terms of a single player game these days, for the price you'd pay, I believe it quite often drops on the store to all of like £5. I believe its standard charge as well, like wherever I've seen it, is anywhere from like £8 to £15 for the kind of physical version. So again, in my opinion, because it's quite updated and had everything put in that was meant to be put in, I genuinely feel like it is a very complete package. And in all honesty, yeah, you might not agree, but I think it is a worthy addition to the Gran Turismo franchise. A lot of people really either don't like it. There was a lot of people that skipped this one, so we had GT6 before this one, and then obviously GT Sport came out kind of in the middle, and this was kind of the only GT game we got for the PlayStation 4 console. Some people just didn't like the idea of it's just sport mode and a multiplayer focused game, and that was it, and skipped it. So those people probably came back in GT7. But I feel like if you did do that and you skipped it, go back, purchase it, and in all honesty, I would fully recommend it. I genuinely feel like you're getting a very, very good game for your money. There's kind of a mix of I guess community in Gran Turismo. You can really tell who came in with GT Sport. They're more multiplayer focused people, and then you can kind of tell the people that may have either missed sport or got sport, I guess, at a later date just for the single player stuff, and had a different kind of experience. So it's going to differ from what you really want, but I genuinely feel like this game's kind of, I guess, these days gone away from that more multiplayer focused thing, and that's, like I said, mainly because of, going monthly with how it works with its kind of sport mode, changing around and stuff like that. It's not weekly anymore, so in all honesty I wouldn't recommend getting it for the multiplayer. So if you are a multiplayer racer and you're only interested in sport mode, no, do not really touch GT Sport at all now, because I genuinely feel like you're not going to get your money's worth. You're just going to be running these same 3 events over and over again, and in my opinion I sometimes feel like a week's too long for some events. So it kind of just depends who you are. If you're happy to run the same event for a month, I think a lot of people wouldn't be, especially when a week feels too long. Then yeah, I kind of just get it for the single player. Like, if you are one of those that skipped it, look, it's not just a multiplayer focused game really, well, anymore. So yeah. Anyway, in terms of the background footage, as you can see, we just got beat on the last corner after making a slight mistake. So the alpha went through, and now it's time to essentially just throw everything at the car. So we went fully upgraded with this thing. As you can see, that's how the upgrades work. We've got the power level. We're also going to shove on some super soft tyres as well. So we've got full upgrades, the softest compound of tyre, and a new livery. So we've gone for a kind of classic spoon racing livery, which I absolutely love on kind of these road going classic Hondas. I really, just enjoy the looks. For me, it's iconic. So we're going to take this one out to the Nürburgring and see if we can kind of redeem ourselves. So, look, this game overall, one thing I do want to know is just how good it's held up graphically. I don't know if it was just me. Obviously this game being released in 2017, I genuinely think it looks brilliant. Even now, it doesn't look out of place. Yes, you can kind of tell some differences between, Gran Turismo 7, especially for me, I play on the PlayStation 5 version. It just looks a bit more, I guess, flat and less dynamic. However, I feel like the visual style with this game feels more, I guess, although it's kind of, still clean and stuff, it feels more, I guess, realistic. I don't know if it's just kind of the colour palette it uses or the way the kind of grass looks and stuff, but I feel it's more kind of, I guess, rough, used looking tracks and stuff, whereas GT7 for me almost feels like everything's, brand new. The tracks have never been kind of touched before, apart from, say, maybe the Nürburgring, which we all know, what looks like on the Nordschleife layout. So yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but I genuinely think this game really does hold up very well. And I feel like as we're going to kind of go through these series, as we rewind it, I guess game by game, covering everything we can within each game, I feel like we're going to kind of pick up more on, I guess, generational leaps. Now, what is my plan in terms of the older games? So a lot of you know that they were only released on the likes of, say, the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 and such, and obviously it's very difficult with kind of modern day technology, in all honesty, to get them running really how they should look. I don't know if you've ever tried to play, say, a PlayStation 2 game on a 4K TV and stuff, but it just doesn't look very good at all. I mean, it genuinely makes the games look really, really bad. So I do have a plan in terms of those, older titles, more the PS2 and PS1 titles. The PS3 ones, for me, they don't look too bad, in all honesty. They're tolerable, and I feel like they're up to a decent enough standard. But those older games, I do plan to essentially just emulate them on PC, in all honesty. I feel like with the kind of extra options we do have on PC, you can get the textures looking better. You can really get them to the standard that you probably remember them looking, because I don't know if you've ever gone back to a Gran Turismo title, especially the PlayStation 1 versions, they look nothing like what you remember them. Whilst, don't get me wrong, you can tell they're, the older Gran Turismos, I just feel like they don't look as good as we remember, and I think that's because obviously a lot of us have gone through generations of consoles whilst playing Gran Turismo. We're now on the 5th PlayStation console, with the PlayStation 1 being a long time ago. So it really does show, and I'm hoping that kind of, I guess doing them on PC and emulating them, they will look much better, much more cleaner. We'll get a better kind of, I guess, crisper image, and this way we can kind of, I guess, tolerate it a lot more, because it really is, a bit of a strange feeling when you've been kind of playing, saying something that looks as good as GT7 in motion, and you go back to, say, Gran Turismo 2 with its kind of attempt at early reflections and stuff, and everything looks insanely glossy and metallic. It really is something to behold, but I feel like it'll be fun anyway. So let me just outline my major plans then for GT Sport. I want to cover everything within this game. For me, I had all of last year pretty much covering everything within GT7, and I'm going to be playing through GT Sport again. I'm going to be doing everything I can. I'm going to be enjoying it as if it was kind of my first proper playthrough, which essentially it will be. Like I said, I didn't have that much time to game when this game was kind of getting its updates and stuff. I was kind of away from gaming as much as I am now. Obviously, with this kind of being a source of income, I do game more, but back then I really wasn't. So I'm going to be kind of experiencing it with you guys. I'll be learning things that I might not have known about this game, things that might have changed since when I played it back in the day, and I believe it got a ton of changes. So yeah, I feel like this will be a pretty cool experience to kind of just dive through everything within this franchise, and that's going to take a long time, hence why I said this series will probably take years upon years, and who knows, we might even end up with a GTA by the time I'm done with this series. I just wanted more of a long-term personal project, and I feel like this is something that I'm genuinely going to enjoy, because not only am I going to, say with GT Sport, going to learn a bunch of new things and experience things for the first time that I kind of missed out on at that point in my life, but going back to, say, like the likes of Gran Turismo 4, Gran Turismo 2, it's going to bring back all those kind of memories of things that I may have just long forgotten, things that will kind of just set that little bulb off in my head, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that now. I'm excited. I cannot wait to really experience some of these games after many years. Some of these Gran Turismo games, especially the likes of like Gran Turismo 3, I have not played in probably a decade. It's been that long, so I really cannot wait to just, I guess, relive not only my memories, but learn things all over again from this franchise. And I hope really at the end we get a nice kind of encyclopedia of what Gran Turismo is. We can know the ins and outs of the series, see where it kind of fell flat and where it improved. Now obviously I could have done this the obvious way and then started off with Gran Turismo 1 and gone upwards, but I feel like kind of taking the series back step by step to the point where we get to that original release will just be able to give us more appreciation for maybe certain titles within the series. Now for me, I know GT Sport is a lot more controversial than some others. Like I said, a lot of people really did either give it a miss or just didn't give it the chance, but in reality I feel like it's a good starting point. We can see where Polyphony took a completely different step from the likes of Gran Turismo 6, and you'll probably notice that obviously Gran Turismo 6 I believe doesn't have its servers anymore, but we're going to basically see kind of the mindset of Gran Turismo and Polyphony and kind of the direction they wanted to take this series in. I guess with each release, we have the likes of kind of the PlayStation 2 GT3, which was more kind of a tech demo than it really was a proper full-blown GT game. And I know that's going to be controversial, but in all honesty, that's the way I've seen it. GT4 came after that and absolutely took a ton of stuff from GT3 and made it into one hell of a package. So yeah, I feel like we're going to see a lot of differences from game to game. We're going to see Polyphony's mindset when they were creating it, who they were trying to target it towards, some things that they love to include, some things that they kind of brought in and took away again. So I really do feel like this is going to be hopefully a long series, a good series, an enjoyable series, something we can all kind of sit down with and relive the memories, and that's kind of my main goal with this series. So yes, I know it's been more of a rambling video and I've kind of just let the gameplay in the background, I guess speak for itself with a few bits of input and more key moments. But again, it's an opening video. I feel like with this one I can talk about the game itself, my opinion on it, give a bit of context to what's going to go happen with this series, and then from episode 2 onwards we can really just focus in the gameplay. So yeah, overall I genuinely Hope you do enjoy this series. I hope you want me to keep it going. I'm hoping not every episode will be around about 30 minutes. And there was just a lot of races in this series and a lot I kind of wanted to cover and talk about. So yeah, hopefully you do stick with me. Hopefully, you know, we can kind of, I guess, go together on this huge journey that's going to take us through, you know, time and through plenty of games, because I know there is people out there that you know, haven't experienced some of these games or just jumped in at GT7. I think it'll be a bit of an eye-opener as to why we love some of these older games a lot more than GT7, let's be honest. Now, who remembers this when you only got cars on the roulette? Please bring that back, Polyphony, because the new GT7 roulette system is absolutely terrible in my honest opinion. So we're coming up to our last race anyway. So we've done 9 races in the background. We've upgraded the car. We've already gone through a bit of a journey with this little Honda Integra. Now, in terms of, you know, using cars from, I guess, championship to championship, I want to keep it as diverse as possible to show off as many cars as possible. So hopefully by the end we end up with a nice selection of cars, a lot of diverse stuff, you know, within the game. We've kind of given it a proper deep dive and look through it. So yeah, I mean, I already feel like not only have we already gone on a bit of a mini journey with this Honda, like I said, but it kind of just shows you what makes Gran Turismo so special. You know, getting these, I guess, cars that you wouldn't usually just throw around everywhere, or, you know, people wouldn't be genuinely too bothered about, and essentially just treating them like your, I guess, little baby through each championship, and getting that car that you really want to use for each championship, and just kind of, you know, racing it properly. I feel like in terms of a Sunday Cup opening, you know, sometimes you'll be using the likes of a Toyota Supra from the 1980s, and sometimes you'll be using a Honda Integra Type R, and they all kind of give you those memories, because you'll usually always remember your first championship within a Gran Turismo game. So in terms of the Supra and stuff, that was kind of from Gran Turismo 4, and even to this day I do fully remember it. It was black, I believe. You got it from the used car dealer on day 1 of the game, and that was kind of, you know, where you went with it. You know, you took it through the Sunday Cups, and yeah, really awesome. And I feel like, you know, one thing Gran Turismo does capture in these older games is the fact that each car is special and does earn its place and kind of have a meaning with it. You know, you'll find yourself gravitating towards certain cars or having memories of certain cars because of, you know, I guess the little journeys you went through with them. And I think it'll be the same with this Honda Integra. As we kind of go through this series, I'll be like, hey, do you remember that, you know, Sunday Cup Integra sort of thing? Who knows, it may even appear later on in the game. But like I said, I do want to try and keep it as diverse as possible. So we're coming towards the end of our first championship. That's going to be this Sunday Cup done. I believe we've lost 2 events. We came P2 on 2 events. The rest of them we won. So that's 7 wins, 2 P2s, which is overall pretty good, to be honest, to say we were trying to, you know, nerf ourselves and not go too overpowered. So that's going to be kind of my intro to Gran Turismo Rewind. It's going to be part 1 where I kind of explain everything, like I said, and I hope you do genuinely enjoy this series. Hopefully we can get it more focused for episode 2 on the game itself. You know, I kind of just wanted to give you an introduction to GT Sport, give you an introduction to the series, and it does kind of take up more time than you probably think, because you kind of have to explain what you want to do, where you want to go. So episode 2 will be more focused on the actual gameplay. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I hope that we have many, many years of awesome episodes and experience together through Gran Turismo history. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn those notifications on so you don't miss an upload from me. I upload each and every day. I'll also be trying to get some streams and stuff in soon. Twitter, Discord, donation link, all in the description down below, and I'll see you later, guys. Peace.